It all started on a quiet Saturday morning in Maple Ridge, a peaceful suburban neighborhood where people waved when they mowed lawns and kids biked around without a care. I had lived there for 6 years, paid every HOA fee on time, kept my yard spotless, and even helped repair the community fence once. But there was one resident who made life in Maple Ridge feel like living under surveillance: Karen Daniels, the self-appointed queen of the HOA board. Karen wasn't technically the president anymore. She had been voted out months ago after too many complaints about her constant meddling, but that didn't stop her from strutting around the neighborhood with her clipboard and phone camera, pretending to enforce rules. To her, everyone was guilty of something: grass too long, trash cans a few inches off the curb, or in my case, improper parking. That morning, I had parked my 2016 silver Ford F-150 at the curb in front of my own house. I usually parked in my driveway, but the kids had been playing basketball late the night before, and I didn't want to move their hoop setup. The truck was completely legal where it was parked: no red zone, no hydrant, no signs. But to Karen, logic was optional. By noon, I stepped outside with my coffee and saw a bright orange notice of violation stuck under my windshield wiper. It wasn't the standard HOA slip either. This one looked like it had been made in Microsoft Word. At the bottom, in bold Comic Sans font, it said, "Vehicle will be towed within 24 hours per HOA Parking Ordinance Number 117. K. Daniels, acting on behalf of Maple Ridge HOA." I sighed. Acting on behalf of? She wasn't even on the board anymore. I crumpled the paper and tossed it into the recycling bin. I figured it was just another one of her empty threats. But then, later that evening, my neighbor Mark came over with his phone in hand. "Hey man," he said, trying not to laugh, "you might want to check this out. Karen's on the neighborhood Facebook page again." He turned his screen toward me, and sure enough, there was Karen's latest post, a blurry photo of my truck with the caption, "Some residents believe they are above HOA rules. This vehicle will be removed tomorrow morning per policy." I could feel my blood pressure rising. I wasn't about to let her drag me online. I commented directly, "Nice try, Karen. My car's legally parked. Touch it, and we'll have a problem." She replied within minutes, "Already handled. You'll see in the morning." The smug confidence in her words stuck with me all night. What did she mean, already handled? At around 7:30 the next morning, I heard a loud rumble outside, the kind that makes your stomach drop before your brain even processes it. I pulled back my blinds and saw a tow truck reversing toward my truck. "What the?" I muttered, throwing on my jacket and bolting outside. Karen stood on the sidewalk in her pink cardigan, holding a clipboard like she was directing a movie shoot. "Morning," she called out cheerfully. "We're finally getting that eyesore off the street." "That's my truck," I snapped. "And you can't just tow it without authorization." The tow truck driver, a heavy-set man with mirrored sunglasses, shrugged. "Lady called us. Said it was HOA property." I turned to Karen. "You told him that?" Karen folded her arms. "As acting HOA representative, I have the right to enforce parking ordinances. This vehicle is in violation." I laughed in disbelief. "You're not acting anything. You were removed from the board last year." Her face reddened. "That's irrelevant. The current board doesn't have the backbone to keep this place in order. Someone has to." Meanwhile, the tow truck guy had already started hooking up the back tires. "Hey! Stop that right now!" I barked. "I'm calling the actual HOA president." "Go ahead," Karen sneered. "They won't do anything." But I dialed Tom, the real HOA president, anyway. He picked up immediately. "Tom, it's Jake," I said quickly. Karen's outside with a tow truck trying to haul my car away. There was a pause, then a low groan. Oh, for crying out loud. She's at it again. Jake, don't let them take it. That's not an HOA-approved tow company. We don't even contract one right now. My heart jumped. Wait, what? I mean exactly what I said, Tom replied. That truck isn't ours. Call the police. Now. I looked up at the tow truck. It had no company logo, no phone number on the side. Just a blank white cab and some cheap magnetic plates. The driver was trying not to make eye contact. Karen, however, looked smug as ever. See? She said. Even your little HOA friends can't help you. I held up my phone. Karen, if this isn't a licensed tow company, you're committing a crime. She rolled her eyes. Oh, please. It's perfectly legal. I found them online. Where online? I pressed. Her lips tightened. Facebook Marketplace. That's when my jaw dropped. You hired a random tow truck from Marketplace to remove my vehicle? Before she could answer, flashing blue lights appeared at the end of the street. Karen's confident expression melted into confusion as the police cruiser rolled up beside the truck. The officer stepped out, hand resting casually on his belt. What seems to be the problem here? He asked. Karen straightened her shoulders. Officer, thank goodness you're here. This man's truck is violating HOA rules, and this towing company was hired to remove it. The officer looked at me, then at the truck, then at the driver. Sir, can I see your towing permit and company ID? The driver swallowed hard. About that. Karen's smile faltered. And that's when I knew, this was about to get very interesting. The officer's flashlight glinted off the unmarked tow truck as he motioned the driver to step aside. The air had gone still, that tense, brittle kind of silence that comes when someone realizes they've made a massive mistake. Karen's smug grin was gone now, replaced by an anxious half-smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. The tow truck driver, meanwhile, looked like he wanted to disappear into the pavement. License and registration, please, the officer said firmly, holding out his hand. The driver fumbled through his pockets, pulling out a crumpled ID card that looked like it had been printed at home. The officer examined it, frowned, and glanced at Karen. Ma'am, who exactly hired this tow truck? Karen straightened her shoulders, clearly trying to regain control of the situation. I did, she said proudly. As acting representative of the Maple Ridge Homeowners Association. The officer turned his gaze toward me. Sir, is that true? I shook my head. No, officer. She's not part of the HOA anymore. She was voted off last year. The current board has nothing to do with this. The officer turned back to Karen. Ma'am, did you verify this towing company's credentials before they came here? Karen huffed. Of course. They had a truck, didn't they? And they responded quickly. That's more than I can say for our lazy HOA board. The officer's brow furrowed. Responded from where, exactly? Karen hesitated. I found them online. Facebook Marketplace. You could practically hear the collective facepalm from everyone standing nearby, me, my neighbor Mark, even the cop. The officer sighed, rubbing his temples. Ma'am, hiring a tow service off social media without verifying licensing or insurance is illegal, especially when you're attempting to remove someone's private property. Karen's composure began to crack. Illegal? Don't be ridiculous. I was simply enforcing community regulations. The officer shook his head. No, ma'am. What you did was call an unlicensed company to perform an unauthorized vehicle removal. That's trespassing, and possibly fraud if this driver accepted payment under false pretenses. The tow truck driver quickly raised his hands. Whoa, I didn't touch the car. She offered me $200 cash, said it was a quick pickup. I didn't even hook it up yet. Karen's face turned crimson. You said you were legitimate. The man snorted. Lady, you found me in the Facebook jobs section. You didn't even ask for my paperwork. I couldn't help but smirk. Karma was unfolding in real time. The officer gestured toward his cruiser. All right, I'm going to need both of you to step aside while I make a few calls. Karen sputtered. Wait, calls? For what? You can't possibly think I did anything wrong. Oh, I can, I muttered under my breath, sipping my coffee from the porch. The officer ignored her and radioed dispatch. Yeah, this is Unit 42. I've got an unlicensed tow truck attempting to remove a vehicle from private property. Possible fraud and HOA impersonation. Requesting verification on both individuals. Karen's mouth fell open. HOA impersonation? I am the HOA. I called out, no, you were. You lost that privilege after you tried to fine old Mrs. Jenkins for hanging bird feeders. Karen whipped around, glaring daggers at me. This entire neighborhood has gone soft. Someone has to enforce standards. The officer gave her a stern look. Ma'am, enforcing standards doesn't include violating property rights or hiring random contractors to seize people's vehicles. A few neighbors had come out by now, pretending to take out trash or water plants, but everyone was watching. Mark leaned over to whisper, "This is better than cable." The officer returned after running the driver's ID. All right, here's what we've got. This gentleman's name doesn't show up on any local business registry, towing license, or DOT record. His vehicle isn't registered as a commercial wrecker either. Karen crossed her arms. That's not my fault. He lied to me. The driver immediately fired back, you told me the HOA approved it. Said it was your community vehicle or something. It was chaos, finger pointing, shouting, excuses flying faster than a tennis match. The officer finally held up his hand. Enough. Both of you need to calm down. Ma'am, I'm issuing you a citation for misuse of authority and disturbing the peace. Sir, your truck's getting impounded until we verify your registration. Irony of the situation was delicious. The tow truck driver's vehicle was being towed away by another legitimate tow company an hour later, while Karen stood on the curb, yelling about corruption and favoritism. As the legitimate tow truck pulled away with the fake one, the officer approached me. You want to file a complaint, sir? I nodded. Absolutely. She's been harassing people in this neighborhood for years. He took down my statement, his expression sympathetic. She's lucky this didn't escalate further. Hiring unlicensed labor for a job like this can carry heavy penalties, especially if property damage had occurred. I thanked him as he left, then turned toward Karen, who was still pacing on the sidewalk, muttering under her breath about disrespectful neighbors. Karen, I said, trying to hold back a grin, next time, maybe check Yelp before hiring your tow company. Her glare could have melted steel. This isn't over, Jake. You think one little visit from the cops will stop me? I smirked. I don't think it will stop you, but it sure slowed you down. She spun on her heel and stormed off toward her house, muttering something about calling her lawyer. As I walked back inside, I couldn't help but laugh. She'd tried to tow my car, and instead, she'd gotten her tow truck towed. The poetic justice was too perfect. But what I didn't know yet was that this wasn't the end. Karen wasn't done. She was about to take things to an entirely new level, one that would drag the Real HOA board, the police, and even the county office into the mess she'd created. And this time, there'd be no easy way out. The morning after the tow truck fiasco, the neighborhood was buzzing like a kicked hornet's nest. Word spread fast, Everyone was talking about how Karen tried to tow Jake's car using a fake company and got caught. Some had seen it from their windows, others heard it through the grapevine. Either way, by sunrise, Karen's reputation as the self-proclaimed guardian of Maple Ridge standards had officially crashed and burned. By noon, the HOA president, Mr. Henson, called for an emergency meeting. All members are requested to attend, the email read, to discuss a serious violation of community regulations and misuse of authority. When I saw that, I knew exactly who it was about. The meeting was set for that evening at the community clubhouse, a small, beige building near the park that always smelled faintly of coffee and cleaning spray. As I arrived, a small crowd had already gathered outside. Neighbors whispered among themselves, their voices a mix of curiosity and disbelief. "Did you hear? She actually paid that guy in cash. Imagine if he had taken Jake's car, we'd all be liable. I bet she's going to blame everyone but herself." Inside, the tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. The board sat at the front table, Mr. Henson, calm but visibly irritated, Laura, the secretary, taking notes, and Charles, the treasurer, looking like he wanted to be anywhere else. Karen was already there too, arms crossed and lips pursed like she was preparing for battle. She wore her usual bright floral blouse and oversized sunglasses, inside, of course, as if she were expecting paparazzi. Mr. Henson tapped his pen on the table. "All right, let's bring this meeting to order. We have a serious issue to discuss, one that involves unauthorized action taken by a former HOA board member, resulting in police involvement." Karen immediately raised her hand. "Before we begin, I'd like to make it clear that my actions were entirely justified. The HOA has been lax in enforcing our rules, and I was simply stepping in where leadership has failed." A collective groan rippled through the room. Mr. Henson adjusted his glasses. "Karen, this isn't about enforcement. It's about legality. You hired an unlicensed tow service to remove a neighbor's vehicle without board approval, and you misrepresented yourself as an active HOA official." Karen scoffed. "Misrepresented? Please. Everyone knows I've been doing this for years. I built this neighborhood's reputation before you softies took over." Laura spoke up quietly, "Karen, you were voted off the board last year for excessive fines and harassment complaints. You can't just decide to act on behalf of the HOA anymore." Karen's jaw tightened. "I was removed because people can't handle discipline. And if enforcing community standards means I'm the bad guy, so be it." Mr. Henson sighed. "Discipline is not the issue. The issue is that you endangered a resident's property and potentially put the HOA at legal risk. The police have already filed a report." That got everyone murmuring again. Karen slammed her hand on the table. "Oh, please. Jake's car was parked too close to the sidewalk, it was an eyesore. You should be thanking me for keeping up appearances." I raised my hand from the audience. "Karen, my car was parked exactly where it's been for 3 years. No one else has ever complained, except you." Her head whipped around toward me. "Because no one else cares about the community the way I do. You think because you mow your lawn once a month you're some kind of model resident?" A few people chuckled. Karen's face reddened. Mr. Henson cleared his throat. "Enough. Karen, we've reviewed the incident with the police, and we have no choice but to take formal action." She smirked. "Oh, I'm sure you'll come up with something ridiculous." He held up a document. "Effective immediately, you are banned from all HOA activities and meetings for 1 year. Additionally, a restraining order has been recommended by the police against further harassment toward residents." The room erupted, gasps, whispers, a few quiet claps. Karen stood up so fast her chair tipped backward. "You can't do this to me. I am this HOA. Without me, this place will fall apart." Laura shook her head sadly. "It already is, because of you." Karen turned to the room, trying to rally support. "You're all going to regret this. When the neighborhood property values drop, don't come crying to me." Mr. Henson stayed calm. "Karen, please leave. You're no longer welcome at this meeting." Her eyes darted between faces, but no one came to her defense. Even her former allies looked away. Realizing she'd lost the room, she pointed a trembling finger at me. "This is your fault, Jake. You've turned everyone against me." I met her glare evenly. "No, Karen. You did that all by yourself." For a moment, I thought she might actually throw something. But instead, she just stormed out, slamming the door so hard that a few papers fluttered off the table. The silence that followed was almost peaceful. Mr. Henson rubbed his forehead. "I'll be contacting the police to confirm the restraining order process. In the meantime, Jake, we're sorry you had to deal with this." I nodded. "Honestly, I'm just glad no one got hurt." As the meeting ended, people came up to me, shaking my hand, patting my shoulder, laughing about the whole thing. "You handled it like a pro," Mark said. I thought she was going to explode. We stepped outside into the cool night air. The clubhouse lights cast long shadows across the quiet street. For the first time in a long while, Maple Ridge felt calm. But even as I walked home, I couldn't shake the feeling that Karen wasn't done. She was unpredictable, and people like her rarely go quietly. And I was right. Because the very next morning, something appeared in everyone's mailbox that proved she was still scheming. And this time, she'd crossed a line that no HOA rulebook could protect her from. The next morning, I woke to the sound of a loud thud against my front door. When I opened it, a stack of flyers was scattered across the porch. Each one had the same headline in bold red letters. "Warning, HOA corruption exposed, proof that our community is under attack." Below the title was a rambling list of accusations against the HOA board, and me. My full name, address, and even a photo of my house were printed right there for everyone to see. According to Karen's report, I was working with the city to sabotage HOA policies, stealing community funds, and endangering the neighborhood's values. It was pure nonsense, but still, seeing it in print made my stomach drop. Within an hour, my phone started buzzing with messages from neighbors. "Jake, did you see this garbage? She's lost it, man. Don't worry, we're on your side." I walked down the street and saw those same flyers stuffed into mailboxes, taped to stop signs, even pinned to the community bulletin board. Karen had clearly spent the whole night spreading them around. Mr. Henson was already outside by the time I reached the clubhouse. His usually calm face was pale with anger. "She trespassed last night," he said, holding one of the flyers. "Security camera caught her at 2 a.m. with a stack of these. The police have already been notified." "She's getting desperate," I said. "She won't stop until she makes someone pay for embarrassing her." He sighed. "Well, then it's time she faces the full consequences." By afternoon, the local police returned, this time with a warrant. Officers gathered the flyers, took statements from neighbors, and reviewed the footage. Karen's SUV was clearly visible in the video, her floral blouse glowing under the streetlights as she taped another flyer to the board. Around 6 p.m., they went to her house. And the entire neighborhood seemed to hold its breath. From my porch, I could see her porch light flick on. Then 2 police cars pulled up quietly. Karen stepped outside, still in her housecoat, yelling before they even said a word. "You can't arrest me. I'm defending this neighborhood. I have the right to warn people." Her voice carried across the street. Curtains fluttered as people peeked through their windows. One of the officers, a tall woman with calm authority, said, "Ma'am, you're being charged with harassment, defamation, and distributing personal information without consent. You need to come with us." Karen tried to argue, claiming she was exposing corruption and that I was a plant sent by the city, but her words grew weaker as the cuffs clicked around her wrists. For the first time, she looked small, no sunglasses, no authority, no crowd backing her. Just a woman who had finally run out of control. They placed her in the back of the patrol car, and as it pulled away, the entire street seemed to exhale. A few neighbors stepped outside. Some clapped quietly. Others just shook their heads. Mark walked up beside me. "You think that's the end of it?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "I think it finally is." That night, the neighborhood felt lighter, quieter. I sat on my porch, watching the streetlights reflect off my freshly washed car. The same car that started all of this. It almost seemed funny now. A few hours later, Mr. Henson stopped by with a small stack of papers. "Wanted you to see this," he said, handing them over. It was a letter from the HOA's attorney, confirming that Karen had been permanently banned from all HOA properties, with a restraining order officially approved. The HOA also issued a public statement clearing my name and apologizing for her behavior. "It's over," he said with a tired smile. "Finally," I said. "But part of me almost feels bad for her." He nodded. "People like Karen. They need control. When they lose it, they lose themselves." We stood in silence for a moment, the hum of crickets filling the air. Then he chuckled. "Still, I've got to say, putting a fake tow truck on her record? That's a first in HOA history." I laughed too. I should frame that toe slip as a souvenir. A few weeks passed, and things slowly returned to normal. The HOA meetings were calm again, people waved when they passed, and for the first time in years, Maple Ridge actually felt like a neighborhood rather than a battleground. Every now and then, someone would bring up the Karen incident, usually with a laugh or a shake of the head. "Remember when she said she was protecting property values while breaking half the laws in the book? Or when she thought the tow guy was from a real company and he drove off when he saw the police?" It became a local legend, the kind of story that would be told for years whenever someone new moved in. As for me, I focused on my home again. Painted the porch, planted a few new shrubs, even added a little sign by the mailbox that said, "Private property, no unauthorized towing." It made the mail carrier laugh every morning. One afternoon, I was cleaning my car when a little girl from next door ran up. "Mr. Jake. My mom says we can have lemonade on your porch again." I smiled. "Of course you can." As she ran off, I glanced around the neighborhood, the sun dipping behind the trees, warm light spilling across the quiet street. Peace. Finally. But just before I went inside, I noticed something new on the edge of my lawn, a small envelope tucked under a rock. I opened it cautiously. Inside was a note in messy handwriting. "You may have won this round, but I'll be back. You can't stop me from protecting what's mine." No signature, but I didn't need one. Karen might be gone for now, but she wasn't finished. Still, I smiled, tore the note in half, and tossed it in the trash. Because for once, the law, and the entire neighborhood, were on my side. And next time she tried something, I'd be ready.